Our focus today is to ask this question: is there oil onshore Sarawak? So maybe for the layman, oil in Sarawak means there is oil in the ground. Maybe for the professionals, oil means, is it commercially viable? Can it be produced technically, able to be produced, and make some sense out of it? So today we are honored to have both the technical discussion on is there oil, and also our friend will also talk about commercially is there oil.
The four graphs into your left, they are actually based on observation from drilled wells. As you can see, this is the rig, these are the rigs, and these are the extensions of the wells inside. And the six graphs to your right are actually general stratigraphic traps for the area. And as you can see, it is mostly horizontal plains with lots of faults like this one, or more complex faults like this one. And these kind of features, subsurface features, are more likely to have an accumulation, since we already knew that there is a source. There is a source beneath these ones, and from the source, the oil will accumulate into these stratigraphic traps. And they prove that there are, according to their sampling, okay, so the sampling depends on the depth, the location, also the availability of instrumentations, the technique, the method of analysis, and they proved that yes, there are traces of oil and gas onshore Sarawak. But back to your question again, question number one, whether is it viable for production or not, this is I cannot answer. This requires very comprehensive studies, and again, it's after even if studies say that there is 100% potential, there is a high risk that you hit a dry hole if you drill in one of the locations. And maybe you'll be lucky that you can find another, like what happened, for example, in offshore Indonesia just a few months ago. They drilled 6 wells looking for gas. They couldn't find any, and by the time they were about to abandon, they just modified the drilling of the 6 wells, and they hit a high deposition, high accumulation of gas.
Can find about 1 billion barrel of oil in the Sarawak area. So that's behind the faults that's not studied yet. Okay, and lastly, there's a recommendation. It said the existing oil and gas area that we know, we should go deeper. We should go deeper because there's a chance of finding the gas condensate. Gas condensate is expensive, is good to go through, and you know, the more you go down, the lighter the oil. So if you see your oil, you can't expect that we can have, if we drill down there, there's a chance of having the condensate in the existing area. Okay, so that's a summary of what we had here. The role of geology in petroleum engineering is important, it's underestimated, but it's not sure always. They said we are 100% sure, but there's no. It's like they say inshallah. So inshallah means if the God wants. Okay, so exploration methods we studied. The most important one is the seismic survey. Without that, there's no clue. We cannot go anywhere. The challenges was the money, the investment, the technical difficulty, the shape of the faults, and the complexity of the earth was the problem. And lastly, we studied 3 cases. Why I brought the 2 cases? Because there's a huge opportunity of the projects to be done in the exploration part. So, and the last one for sure, it shows that there is a hope. So this quote is not from me, it's written from the paper that studied both untested area has a highly potential of having oil and gas. So the answer is very optimistic to have oil and gas in. And there's one area even drilled, tested, there was oil, but the oil amount was small. So why not the other area behind the faults? For sure we can find oil. Okay. So thank you very much. And yeah.
So how long before we get to see our first oil? It's pretty long. Next slide. It's anything from 12 to 15 years when we first signed the PSC. So that's how long it takes. I mean, if it's offshore, it can be much faster. But onshore, I've seen a lot of these cases, especially onshore Indonesia. Yeah. So in our case, Sarawak, like basically a lot of the areas I would call it frontier exploration area. It's not much exploration yet, other than the 2 blocks that we know, which one is the Nippon oil block and the other one is the RH Petrogas block. But the rest of the area, there's like no activity, shooting seismic, like Bonnie said earlier on, the old seismic could be in the wrong location because of the wrong navigation system, projection system. Unlike nowadays where we have GPS, we can even see using Google Earth what the terrain look like in this area. Yeah, so we can use that to plan our seismic survey as well. Yeah.